La, 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 wait till I give my money right.
Watch this. Lorenzo Alexander. This guy's a success story. He came here as an offensive lineman. Look at that contact. He can play linebacker. He can play defensive tackle. This is a gifted athlete, and obviously he can play special teams. Jimmy Graham got flattened by Lorenzo Alexander. It's off. That's Alexander with the theft out to the 40 on the run back, brought down by Pouncey. And the Buffalo defense comes up with a big play here on the opening drive. It's off the hands of Jimmy Graham and intercepted by Lorenzo Alexander. And another throw to the middle, passes complete in the middle. It's A.J. Green, it's not loose, picked up by the Bills. Poyer picked it up off the turf, and he's rolling to the far side of the field. Another turnover forced by the secondary. That was Alexander, I think. It was Lorenzo Alexander.
Welcome back on air with Chris Shanafelt, and joining the show now is not only one hell of a football player, but a hell of a person as well. He's Buffalo Bills linebacker Lorenzo Alexander. Lorenzo, good morning, man. How's everything going?
Good morning, Chris. I'm doing pretty good, man. You know, out here in Arizona, enjoying this nice, warm weather, to say the least. A little change up from that Buffalo one I just enjoyed this past offseason.
No doubt about it. Certainly totally different than the Buffalo Winters that you have there with the Bills. Now, Lorenzo, you have a free youth football and cheerleading skills camp coming up this weekend, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But before we do, I'd like to get your thoughts on some football-related topics, talk a little bit about your journey for those who may not know all about it. And I kind of want to just talk about your overall career to start things off to this point. I mean, quietly, I got to say you're really one of the better football stories out there. Most obviously do know that you are a Pro Bowl linebacker, two-time Pro Bowler, all-pro linebacker. And you know, your career didn't start out that way, though, Lorenzo. I mean, coming out of Cal in 2005, you're an undrafted free agent. Spent your first year with the Carolina Panthers practice squad, then went on to spend 5 days with the Baltimore Ravens practice squad before you were picked up by the Washington Redskins, in which you spent the majority of your career with. And that's, of course, where you got the nickname One Man Gang, and it's also your Twitter handle as well, One Man Gang 97. And you got that because you were able to line up just about anywhere on the field. I mean, you've gotten reps at inside linebacker, outside linebacker, defensive tackle. You're a special teams ace there in Washington, voted to the Pro Bowl in 2012. And you've even seen some time on offense at offensive guard and tight end. After spending 7 seasons in Washington, Lorenzo, you went on to play for the Cardinals, the Oakland Raiders, and you're currently gearing up for your 3rd season in Buffalo. You're entering year 14 of your NFL career. I mean, how would you describe the journey that you've been on so far? You know, if I were to tell you back in 2005, as you were leaving Cal Berkeley, that this is how things would turn out, I mean, what would you say?
I probably wouldn't have believed you. I probably would have said I would have ended up out of the league, you know, based on the way my career started. And the process has been only one that could have been planned by God, because it's so unique in the fashion, you know, coming out of college in 2005, as you mentioned, to Carolina as a 315-pound defensive lineman, you know, and now have played in the league at 235, 240 as a linebacker, you know, running down on kickoffs, punts, you know, sacking the quarterback, covering guys. I don't think anybody would have ever said that something like this was possible, you know, let alone lose the weight, but lose the weight while playing in the NFL. I mean, I don't know too many guys who have ever done it. You know, guys who've gained weight, maintained weight, and lost it after they're done, but to be able to do that and still be able to play at a high level is just something that you just don't see every day. And, you know, and it's not really all about me. It's really more about the coaches and the players that I've had, you know, throughout my career to really help me go through those transitions. Whether it was Danny Smith, great special teams coach, Mike Sellers, great fullback, Chris Samuels, offensive tackle, London Fletcher, linebacker. I've had influential people who've been at the top of their game in every phase that I've had the privilege to play and position to play. to really help me, fast track the skill set that you need to be able to perform at that level. So it's really been blessed just to be around the people I've been around, the relationships that I've built, and that's really the true story of why I've been able to be successful in this league as an undrafted defensive lineman out of UC Berkeley.
You know, you mentioned some of your former teammates, some of your former coaches, current coaches as well. I mean, let's kind of stay on that path. I mean, looking specifically at some linebackers that you've been able to play with, you've been able to be in the same room with. I mean, there's really some impressive names. You mentioned London Fletcher. You got Brian Orakpo, Ryan Kerrigan, Larry Foote from your time in Arizona.
Yep.
You know, looking back at your year in Oakland, Khalil Mack, Curtis Lofton, who I think has had an underrated career. I mean, again, a really impressive list of names. What were you able to take from those guys? I mean, who are some of the current or former teammates or coaches that you've been around that you would kind of credit in helping you get ready for when that time did come to see meaningful snaps specifically at the linebacker position?
Right. All those guys are very talented and have their own skill set and abilities. And, just watching film, listening to how they talk about how they attack certain situations, whether it's, football situationally, second, third down, red zone, short yardage, long passing down, how they break down film on guys. But I would say that the two people that probably who have had the most impact on me on and off the field, one would be London Fletcher. He was more of a big brother to me. We used to ride to the games together. He was just so influential. So, just being a mentor, helping me out on and off the field. He was a great example of how to be a great man off the field, especially had his foundation, married, 3 beautiful kids, and just very present in his family's life, as well as, he was all in on football. So he showed me the balance that you have to have if you want to be able to be great in both areas, because they're so in line. And I think people think you have to do one or the other at a high level, but he was able to show me that there was great balance in both and do it pretty well. And just, conversations with him, having intimate conversations, just riding to the game was probably my most fondest memories of being in Washington and being around London. Later in my career, it's been, I would say, Kyle Williams, and it's been more of a friendship, brotherhood, because we're more, obviously on the same age. And his meticulousness as far as breaking down game film, as far as pass rushing, identifying keys, being able to call out things, really helped my football IQ and kind of take it to that next level. And again, he's an awesome human being, and I feel have some great people. His family is awesome, has really opened their arms and welcomed my family into Buffalo, and has helped that process and transition, which has made it easier for me to go to work every single day because I know my wife is taking care of my kids or engaged with friends and good people. And it just allows me to go out there and not worry about anything as far as what's going on at home, and go and be all in it and at work. So those two guys and their families have probably been the most impactful over time. But there are countless guys. Kedrick Ghost is another one of my great friends. Antoine Randoleo, Derek Dockery. I can go on and on and on about the relationships that I've built in the NFL. That's the greatest thing about playing this game. Yes, the money's cool. Yes, the fame is cool. Being able to do something that you're really passionate about is cool, but there's nothing like building these relationships that are lifelong relationships, sustainable over time, and that you'll never lose. So those are the things that I cherish the most.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, your time in Washington, being around London Fletcher, a guy that, you guys certainly had different paths to the league, but he's a guy that also went undrafted from a really small school, John Carroll, a Division III program. And so that's certainly a guy that you kind of want to follow. And had a very long, successful career, to say the least, as well. And then in terms of Kyle Williams, something you have in terms in relations to him, obviously coming into the league as a defensive tackle, and Kyle Williams showed last year he could show his versatility lining up at fullback as well, which was a lot of fun to watch. Again, we're chatting with Buffalo Bills Pro Bowl linebacker Lorenzo Alexander here on air with Chris Shanafelt. And Lorenzo, you had your breakout season at linebacker. Your first year in Buffalo in 2016, you had a career-high 76 tackles, 12.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and an interception, your first interception of your career. You're voted second team All-Pro. You went to the Pro Bowl. You won Defensive MVP of that game, and you're voted by fellow players in the league as the 91st best player that season in all of football. Again, Lorenzo, I mean, I feel like a movie can be made about your journey and your career in the NFL. Not often does somebody have their breakout year, their best season individually, their 12th year in the league. When are we getting this movie on Lorenzo Alexander?
I don't know, man. Got to talk to Hollywood about that. I mean, actually, one of my good friends is Ryan Coogler. We went to high school together, so I need to get on the phone with him and start having him write a plan together, because then I know it's going to, blow up and be big like Black Panther was. But, I mean, this all comes down to opportunity. I've always been successful, and I think people generally want to equate stats to, you having a successful season and having a breakout season. But in my mind, and if you ask guys around the league, I think I have broken out way before year 12. Obviously, sack-wise, statistically, it was a big jump, but that just came because I was a starter and played 70% of the snaps. I always look at, how efficient am I based on the time and opportunity that I'm given to be on the field. And many of those years, my role was mainly to be a special teams player and then to be a backup role player and linebacker and get on there and maybe play 10, 15 snaps and be productive when I had my opportunity. And I think I did a great job of that majority of my career. And that's why Arizona brought me in. That's why Oakland decided to bring me in, and then Buffalo, because they knew what I was able to bring from a special team standpoint where, if you ask special teams coaches around the league, they would put my name right there in the same ilk as a Matthew Slater, as far as how dominant I was there. So eventually I got my chance to play on defense for an extended period of time, unfortunately due to some roster moves, guys being cut or guys being injured, and just took that same passion and that same ability and just transferred it to linebacker and was able to be productive. So I look forward to continuing to do that. Last year we went through a coaching change and my role changed a little bit again. Wasn't as much as a pass rusher, trying to switch to off the ball linebacker and being that pass rusher. So this year I'm looking forward to really honing in on that role that the coaches kind of set forth before me last year. I'm kind of continuing that. They understand who I am as well a little bit better this year. And look forward to getting back up there, along with Jerry Hughes as far as being demons off that edge and really getting after opposing quarterbacks.
Well, Lorenzo, here you are. I mean, entering year 14 in the National Football League, and the tail end of that answer really just spoke a lot about you and how you've been able to last. I mean, the average career in the NFL is, 2.5, 3 years? And right. Here you are now entering year 14, and I'm curious. I mean, not a lot of guys, you tell me, I don't think a lot of guys would really have that same mindset as you. You're coming off of a year in which you have a career high 12.5 sacks. I got to think that was something you loved doing. I mean, you mentioned that you played on the defensive line early in your career and coming out of college. So I got to think that really lit a spark into you having that big-time individual success at linebacker, again, being able to show that you can pass rush and get to the quarterback. And then, like you said, Rex Ryan is out. Sean McDermott comes in. Your role changes on the defense, and that tail end of the answer that you just said, you're really looking forward to relishing in this new defense, this new opportunity given to you. I don't think many would have the same mindset that you have in this defense. I think many would be upset and hey, I just showed I could get to the quarterback. I had 12.5 sacks the year before. I mean, talk about just buying in and, how you've been able to last so long that you have been.
Right. And, I'm not going to act like I don't have an ego or don't have emotions. Of course, I feel a certain type of way when your role changes and you have success. And I feel like, hey, I need to get as many opportunities too, man. Did y'all not see me get 12.5 sacks last year? But at the end of the day, I have more perspective than my ego. I understand the bigger picture. It's not always about me. It's about the team and trying to put myself in a position to where I can help the team the most. And coaches oftentimes can be better just because they're standing back from a situation and they're not as emotionally invested as a player may be, given that specific position and role. A player may want to think that he can perform the best. And quite frankly, it's the reason why I'm in the NFL now, because coaches saw that I could maybe he can play offensive line. Maybe he can play linebacker. And kept me in the league. So I was start now year, last year was year 13 and, going into year 14 to not allow them to kind of speak and maybe put me in a position that's going to, quite frankly, help me out, show my versatility, and as well as help the team. And then I know what it's like to be on the other side. I mean, obviously coming to this league undrafted, bouncing around, being cut, being out of the league for a little bit. I know what it feels like not to be able to play. And I'm not going to let my ego or what I think is best to get in the way of me ultimately wanting to do this game. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. They say they want to do some certain things in life, but then they're not willing to maybe change a little bit or bend or amend some things. I'm not saying that you sell out or, give in as far as what you want to do. But sometimes you have to do things a little bit different than you want to obtain your goal or your ultimate objective. So then you can call the shot, put yourself in the best situation. And so that's why I've always had the perspective, if a coach asks me to do something, even though it's outside of maybe my action plan for my personal self, then I'm going to try to implement it and try it. And then if it doesn't work, hey, coach, man, I don't know. Then you come back. But I'm a team first guy. I always will be, because I think that's ultimately where greatness is birthed. Individual accolades are cool, but when you come together and do something special with a team, and those are the things that you're reminded about forever. I had the privilege of being around the guys, in Buffalo, obviously, they went to those 4 Super Bowls. I mean, they have great relationships, and they don't even really talk about the loss. It's more about the journey and the process that those guys went through together. And those are things that I look forward to being able to share, 10, 15 years, whenever I decide to hang it up, that I can look back and really have that bond and those memories with those guys. And I don't want to allow my ego to be disruptive of that process or that experience.
A couple more questions for Lorenzo Alexander, linebacker, Buffalo Bills, here on air with Chris Shanafelt. Then we're going to get to his Bay Area Seminoles Hold the Line Skills Camp, which takes place this weekend. Lorenzo, we mentioned it, Sean McDermott's first year in Buffalo. You guys finished 9-7. You earned a wild card round of the playoffs, and it was the first time in 22 years that the Bills were back in the playoffs, and it was kind of a battle of the I guess you kind of say good stories. I mean, two teams that really haven't had success in quite some time, between Buffalo and the Jaguars. Jacksonville did go on to win the low-scoring game 10-3, but for you, Lorenzo, I mean, what was it like to witness playoff football in a Bills uniform? And we got to hear about the Buffalo fans, man. I mean, we see videos each and every week throughout the football season. What's it been like playing for Bills Mafia the past 2 seasons?
I mean, well, this is a iconic fan base up here. I mean, after doing a 17-year playoff drought, 18 seasons, just to see, even before we went to the playoffs, I mean, Bills Mafia is crazy. It's not like they ever lost face or lost their fandom. They always supported their team and, was out there week in and week out, rain, snow, the cold, and constantly supported us. But to see us go to the playoffs in the additional passion that was just released, I mean, getting off that plane and having, I don't know, it felt like a million people out there, and it was butt cold and snow on the ground, and you could barely get out of our parking lot at the airport. It was just an awesome feeling. And it's a great town, great people, hardworking people. And it's just been a real privilege to play for this organization, in this franchise, and hopefully, end my career here as a Bills player. So it's been awesome. It's kind of even hard to put into words, but they've embraced me, and I've just built a great relationship with many of the fans there locally in Buffalo.
And excuse me, you had the number right. I had it wrong. You guys ended the 18-year playoff drought. Unfortunately, the loss makes it 22 years since there's been a playoff victory for the Bills.
Right.
One last thing, and then we'll get to your camp, Lorenzo. Obviously, the team looks totally different now. You guys got a new quarterback under center. Whether it's A.J. McCarron or Josh Allen starting week 1, we'll see. But I want to ask you about
Don't
Jermaine
forget about
Edmonds.
Nate Peterman now.
Yeah, Nate Peterman, you're right. And rumor has it that he is looking like the best quarterback in mini camp, at least. We still got training camp and preseason to go.
Right.
But let me ask you about the young guy they also selected in the first round as well, Tremaine Edmonds, linebacker out of Virginia Tech. I mean, obviously a heck of an athlete. I think he ran a 4.5 40 at 6. What is he? 6'2", or excuse me, 6'5", 253.
5, yeah.
You know, running a 4.5 40, bench press 19 reps, and again, being only 20 years old, just turned 20 May 2nd, a little over a month ago. I mean, you know, I gotta think it's going to be a lot of fun working with him and kind of trying to mold him into you know, a heck of a football player in that Sean McDermott defense.
Yeah, I mean, the dude is a freak. He's a stud. I mean, mentally, physically, mentality-wise, I mean, he has it all. Obviously, a lot has to do with his family, both mother and father. Pretty elite athletes. I mean, obviously, his dad played in the league. I think his mom ran track, and then all of his brothers in the league too. So that family has an understanding of what it means to be a professional athlete, and you can see it in the way he works, in the questions that he asks, and how he practices. That he gets it. And with that mentality, he's going to be extremely successful in this league. And I'll be surprised if he's not an All-Pro, you know, in the next 3 to 4 years, just based on his gifts. Now, I don't know, because he is so young, will he develop into something different than a linebacker, because he does have a big frame on him, and, you know, getting in the weight room, you know, growing some more. You just don't know, because his dad is a big man too. I could easily see him becoming like an outside backer, defensive end type, easily, just because of his framework and his work ethic. But right now, been really impressed how he's adopted the defense and really has processed it. We have a simple defense, but we have a lot of different things going on. And as the Mike linebacker, he's the quarterback of the defense, and making calls and making checks and being accountable for everybody else, and being essentially the figurehead leader of the team or of the defense. You know, thankfully he has a guy like Kyle Williams that can relieve a lot of that pressure off of him as far as leadership role. But he hasn't slowed down. A lot of times guys get all that information and their athleticism, their ability is stifled a little bit, and I haven't really seen that. And I haven't seen any frustration on him, so I'm really excited about playing next to him and just seeing him be dominant this year, running around, hitting folks, making big plays, and really being a catalyst like Trey White was for us last year, him being that same type of cog in the middle of our defense, helping us win some games and getting past the first round, and ultimately we want to win a championship. So Sean and Brandon have done a great job of identifying players like Tremaine, and we've continued to find them and bring him in, and he's just at the top of the list as far as those guys that I think are going to really impact this organization for the next, 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely. Should be a lot of fun. Football being played in Buffalo, and obviously, hopefully, a lot of successful football being played in Buffalo as well. Lorenzo, really appreciate your time. Now, let's talk about what you're doing this weekend. I mean, again, I mentioned it. Bay Area Seminoles hold the line skills camp, and what's different about this is that it's not only, and again, let me stress, a free camp. Free.
Right.
So make sure you get out there and have a great time. It's not only a free football camp, though, Lorenzo. I mean, this is a free cheerleading camp as well. So, I mean, all both genders, male, female, ages 5 to 14 can show up, have a great time. And it takes place 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., June 23rd. I mean, talk a little bit about this and, why give back.
Yeah.
And, again, you're playing in Buffalo. You've had stints in quite a few spots around the league. Why give back to your, hometown, home state of California?
Well, you said it right there. It's my home. It's where I was birthed. It's where the foundation was created for me. That's where anybody who was really influential in my life, I mean, that's why I met them. You talk about my mom, my uncle, the myriad of coaches that I've had throughout my career, my youth career, as well as friends that I bonded with growing up. They're all there for the most part. And, without those important individuals in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. So it would be negligent of me, pretty much, for me not to use this platform of the NFL, the resources, both financially and relationally, to go back and build something and maybe encourage the next generation of our leaders in community, whether it's sports, or in, being a doctor, whatever they may decide to do, to really help Oakland and encourage these young folks that they are greater than their environment in some of these cases, because it's sad that, we have a lot of kids that live or grow up in less ideal environments, both at home and in our community, just because of whether it may be violence, drugs, divorce, whatever the issue may be, and are at somewhat of a disadvantage. So I just try to help fill the gap, make them realize they have great potential. A lot of times we do it obviously through a cheer or a football camp. This is a combination of the two, but it's a chance for me to speak to the kids, bring other people to speak to them, and get that first touch. And then a lot of these kids eventually end up coming back, and we build relationships, and I do some other programming as well where it's more sustainable. But just trying to give them a picture of what it looks like to be successful. And I make sure I bring out countless people and not just show them athletes, because I'm a outlier just based on the percentages as far as being able to play in the league as long as I have, or even to make it to the NFL. So we have officers out there. We have nurses. We have caregivers. We have high school coaches, obviously, just so they can see people that look like them who've become successful, who have gone on to college or trade, but now are out there giving back to them and building those relationships and speaking to their life. So I think that's probably the most important part of the camp. Even though we're having fun and playing football, that's just a way to get the kids engaged and get next to them, get some touch and some eyes, some wisdom to be able to talk to them, because ultimately we worry about this thing about life, and too many of the young kids in my community aren't being as successful as their abilities or capabilities. So I'm just trying to help out and do my part and, change this world based on the community that I come from.
And again, that's this Saturday, June 23rd, ages 5 to 14. It's a free football and cheerleading camp. They can register at BayAreaSeminoles.org/camps. Also, right. Lorenzo, I know you have your own website as well, LorenzoAlexander.org. And, it's really amazing what you do in the community. I mean, I see you just about every year, at least the last 2 or 3 years I've been in Indianapolis for the NFL Combine. I know you're always there that week, kind of helping out and obviously lending a helping hand to the incoming class of rookies that'll be entering the NFL. And, getting ready for this interview, Lorenzo, and we've been able to chat a few times, I came across probably one of the coolest pictures I've really ever seen, and it's a picture of you. You're in Buffalo, and you have one of the firefighters' helmets on, and it looks like you're thanking them, you're greeting them. Does this just kind of come from, again, your background and kind of seeing the struggles and growing up? And this kind of a personality and just to see the success that you've had, man, it's really just been a true treat.
I appreciate it. And, I'm just appreciative. Obviously with all the anthem stuff go on, most people's perspective is that we're anti-American, anti-police, first responders, and that's just to the contrary. I think you can be for a lot of different things and support a lot of different things and not have them conflict. And that's something that we've been trying to get out as far as guys talking, what we do in the community, making sure we show appreciation to our officers and first responders that are doing their job at a high level and doing it the right way. Obviously, we all love our military because they, quite frankly, allow me to do what I do on Sundays and have created this country and what we all stand for. So it's been, just a privilege to have a lot of these individuals in the community come out. We support them. They support us. And, they're a very important piece in the community work that we continue to do. So I had a great friend, Kevin Schaefer, that actually was a first responder of 9/11. And every opportunity I get to wear that firefighter's helmet and honor him and honor the men and women that, that run the burdened buildings, run towards danger for us, I try to honor them in that fashion by wearing the helmet so people can see it and just realize that I have a lot of respect and admiration for what they decide to do on a day-to-day basis for us.
I mean, that's really awesome. And, Lorenzo, I've stolen about 30 minutes of your time, about double of what I expected. And I just want to get you out on one last thing. Again, great things you're doing both on the field and obviously off the field. Really a great ambassador, not only for the Buffalo Bills, but I got to think for the National Football League in its totality. Any final words, any last things you want to throw out there about your camp coming up this weekend, June 23rd, or again, LorenzoAlexander.org. They can find out more about your foundation, the ACES Foundation. I mean, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, I think we covered it all. You've done a great job facilitating the interview. I mean, I think the biggest thing is just making sure parents, teachers, coaches, whoever it may be, just getting up a little bit earlier and getting your kids over to Alameda on Saturday. We have space for 150. Right now, we only at half capacity, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be selling out. So I encourage, caregivers, whatever your situation may be, get the kids up, get them out, and they're going to have a great time, and they won't regret it. The Bay Area Seminoles and my foundation do a pretty good job, I would think, and nobody's ever said they regretted coming out, and I really love getting to meet the kids and hanging out with them and just having a great day. So bring them out, as we've kind of said throughout this show, and let's have a great time this weekend.
And one last time, Bay Area Seminoles presents Hold the Line Skills Camp. It's a free football and cheerleading camp, ages 5 to 14 years old. Again, free, being held this Saturday, 10 to 2 p.m. Again, you can register bayareaseminoles.org/camps. Lorenzo, really appreciate you taking the time this morning. Again, congrats on all the success. We're going to work on getting a movie done for you and your career. People must see it. And best of luck this upcoming season, man. Really looking forward to seeing how you guys do.
No, I appreciate you, brother.